Welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today what I'm going to be talking about is probably the worst part of traveling abroad, and that is all of the documentation. Now, going through this was a terrible struggle because, like I said before, I've never done anything like this, so I really had no idea what I was doing. So, I feel like this video is going to be just kind of funny because, I mean, a lot of things went wrong. Like, pretty much everything went wrong at some point. But also, if you're planning on ever traveling abroad, especially if you're doing it through Union, like, hopefully this will be kind of helpful. Okay, so, first of all, when you get your application package, all you have to do to apply is just go online and fill out a bunch of stuff talking about, like, you know, the various stuff, your name, your address, blah, blah, blah. There was a section where you have to talk about, like, why you want to go. So that was kind of felt like I was applying for a scholarship, but that's easy. But then once you get accepted, which is very unlikely that you won't, as far as I can tell, but then they'll send you a package with, like, a ton of documents that they need to send you that are all in Spanish. So that was interesting. And then just a huge list of, like, all the kind of stuff you need when you're going to apply for your visa. So basically, I had this list, and hopefully they change it for next year. But basically, there's a certain number of consulates throughout the United States, and depending on your residency, you have to go to a certain one. So there's one that's in, like, I want to say there was one in, like, San Francisco or San Diego or something, and then there's one down in Texas, and then there's one in Chicago, there's one over in DC and somewhere else over east-ish. So, but because my residency is in Nebraska, I had to go to the one in Chicago. So, I mean, not a big deal. Like, it's just kind of annoying because that's the only place, those are the places where there are Spanish, like Spain consulates. So the first problem that came up was I couldn't get to that consulate's website. The documentation on the list they gave me, they had a list of, like, all the consulates and, like, fax numbers and, like, websites and stuff, and the one for Chicago was no longer valid. So, like, it took me to this one place where it was like, here, click on this if you want a business visa. Well, I don't want a business visa, I want a student visa. And it's like, click here if you want a tourist something. And I was like, I don't need that, I'm gonna be a student, I have to be there for ever and a half, 9 months. Because you have to get a visa if you're staying 90 days or more. So from there, I searched that website for like an hour, and I was just like, there's nothing here and I don't know what to do. So I was just like, fine, I'll just ignore it and get done with all the other stuff. So one of the things, obviously, is a passport. Now, when I was like 12 or 13, I don't even remember, but my sister was going on a mission trip to Peru, and my parents were both going to the Bahamas because my dad was a gymnastics coach and they were doing a spring break tour thing in the Bahamas, and so my mom was going to go with him. But I got to stay home. So we all four of us, my mom, my dad, my sister, and me, we went and got our passports, and I remember the whole time being really bitter about it because I was like, I'm not even going anywhere, blah, 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 let's just go to Peru, you guys are going to the Bahamas, I'm just gonna stay here and do nothing, why do we have to pay for it now? I think it just didn't make sense. But we went and got my passport, so that picture was terrible. If you can imagine 12-year-old me, or remember 12-year-old me. So funny thing, that passport expired my senior year in high school. So I had to go through the process of, like, renewing my passport, and that was super easy. Like, you just go to the post office and fill out paperwork and take a new picture, so I was like, okay, that's fine. Well, I took several pictures. Like, I got some done at the post office, and that one was fine, but then I was like, you know what, I need a couple extras for when I'm over there anyway. So I went to, like, CVS and got them taken, and I'm pretty sure I did that like 2 or 3 times, and I lost all of them. So, they weren't very good anyway, so I don't feel too bad about it. Anyway, so passport, got that out of the way, that was fine. Then there's a ton of stuff you have to do. You have to get your fingerprints taken, and you have to get a background check. That's what it's called. So I was like, okay, well, when I got my EMT license, I had to get my background check, so maybe that counts, and that ended up not being right. But so I went to the police station, like the thing that Spain gave me. They're like, oh, just go to your local police station, blah blah blah. You don't need the FBI one, blah blah blah. Stuff that didn't make sense, like grammatically didn't make sense, and like it kept what's the word? Contradicting. That's it. It kept like contradicting itself, and I was like, I have no idea what this is trying to tell me, but I'm sure the people there are gonna know what to do. So I went to the police place thingy downtown, and I went in and I got my fingerprints taken, and that was all nice, fine and dandy, whatever. So then I went to get my background check, and I was like, I showed them the paper. I was like, this is what this says. This is what I need, I guess. And they were like, oh, okay, yeah. And so they gave me a background check, and I was like, cool. But I read the thing again, and it was like, local police background check is not valid or whatever. So I was like, huh. Well, now what am I supposed to do? So my mom helped me out, and we ended up calling the ACA office, and we're like, hey, for one thing, we can't get into the Chicago consulate's website or whatever to make an appointment to meet with them. And also, what is the whole deal with this fingerprinting and background check business? And they're like, oh, you don't need this. You need this and this and this. And we're just like, well, why didn't you put that on the paper? So they helped us get to the consulate website. So like, got that taken care of, made an appointment, and printed off the sheet they say from the site that said like all the stuff you needed for your visa appointment. That's the word. So, and then the funny thing is that list from the consulate and the list from ACA were mostly similar, but there were some things on the consulate one that weren't on the ACA one, and I was like, I'm just gonna go get it anyway, just in case. So I went to my doctor and had to get this like signed medical thing. So that was interesting. And I mean, like, not a big deal, but it's just like, I don't know which one's right, and I don't want to mess this up because I don't have time to mess up because I'm gone, and I'll get to that part later. But like most of the documentation really is not that difficult, and a lot of it comes in the packet, so that's helpful for those of you who are considering doing it. Like, a lot of the stuff is already in the packet that ACA sends you, talking about like insurance stuff and just like the letter of acceptance, stuff like that. So the next part of my adventure was I was gone all summer long, like literally from the beginning of May through school starting. I was pretty much gone the entire time. So I was in Colorado for a couple weeks, like right as school ended. So like the first weekend of May, I was gone in Colorado. So I tried to get as much stuff done as I could beforehand. And I had started working on it back in like February or March or something. But since so much stuff didn't make sense, kind of slowed me down. I ended up coming back from Colorado a little bit earlier than I had expected. So I was able to have a little bit of time to take care of the rest of the stuff, going back and forth between government buildings and stuff. We'll get to that soon again. And then I was working down at camp in Kansas. So that's like a 2.5 hour drive depending on how fast you drive. So I was down there, and I left for there beginning of June, I think. So literally, I went to camp for like a day, and then I had to come back up to Lincoln to finish up the fingerprint and background check process, because that was still not working. Because you have to, if you're from Nebraska, you have to use the state patrol to get your background check. So just keep that in mind. And that's super easy. It's all online. You literally just say, you go to their website and say, I want a background check, and I need it to have like this special stamp. And you're done. You just wait for a while, and that's it. It comes in the mail, has this like fancy little shiny sticker pledge thingy. I don't know what it's called. So, but then on the ACA sheet, it said that both the fingerprint and the background check needed this apostille of Hague Convention stamp of approval, something, which don't even know what that meant. So I went downtown to figure it out, because after searching endlessly online for how to take care of that, because the paper from ACA said either the DOJ or the senator's office, and so I was like, it depends. They're like, it depends on your state, so blah blah blah. And I was like, well, I don't know what my state does, so thank you. So so I went downtown, and there's one building. So like literally, the police place that I needed to get stuff at is over here, and literally like straight across for probably like 6 blocks or something is the Capitol building where the senator's office place that I needed to go was. So I ended up going to the senator's office, finding that that is where you need to go in the Capitol building if you're from Nebraska to get this stamp. I went there and I was like, okay, I need this stamp on my fingerprint card and this background check. And they're like, okay. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, okay, sure. Well, we don't really do it on the fingerprint cards. And I was like, what? They're like, we can do it on your background check now. And I was like, fine, that's fine. They're like, well, the thing is your fingerprint card isn't notarized. Like, somebody actually has to be there and watch you get your fingerprints taken and have this something. And like literally all these words were just like, pfft. It's like, okay, what do I do? They're like, go back to the police station and ask them, they'll have you fill out this something, this document saying that like you got your fingerprints taken legally or something like that. And I was like, fine. And they're like, we'll have the background check with that apostille of Hague, whatever, something stamp when you get back. And I was like, fine. So I walked all the way back over there and I went and talked to them, and they were like, we don't know what this is. We don't know what to do. Like, and I was like, literally, I showed them the paper from ACA, and it says whatever it said about fingerprints and the Hague Convention stamp, and I was like, I don't know, this is what it says, help me. And they're like, well, here, we'll like put this stamp on it that says it's legal and notarize it or whatever. And I was like, I don't even know what that means, but fine, I don't care, as long as it works. So I went over back to the Capitol building with that, and I got a different lady there. Like, I had some dude before, and the lady was like, oh, you don't even need it. You don't need that on your fingerprint card. And I was like, seriously? I'm literally just walking back and forth this whole time trying to figure this out. She's like, oh yeah, you don't even need it. Like, we have it on your background check. Here, you just give me $10 and we're good to go. And I was like, cool. Well, that was way more difficult than it needed it to be. So that was fun. So after that, pretty much everything was done. You have to have, like I said, your passport. You have to have like your driver's license and stuff like that. The background check, the fingerprints, the medical thing, and pretty much everything besides that is already included in the ACA package that they give you. So all you have to do is just like make sure you have copies of everything. So after that, I went back to camp because, like I said, I had left camp that day, and I went back down that day. I was like, we're okay, we're good, we're fine. So the time comes for me to go to Chicago. So my appointment in Chicago was like on June 13th or something. It was a Monday. So I was literally at camp for about a week, and I left Sunday morning from camp at like 7 o'clock, I think. 7 or 8, I don't actually remember. Like I said, it's a 2.5 hour drive back up here to Lincoln because my mom wanted me to drive her car, which is a little bit more stable and reliable than mine. So I drove back up to Lincoln, and I chilled there for like 30 minutes, like ate breakfast or something. I don't even know, but for the most part, it was just like grab my aunt and go, because my aunt was going to come with me because my mommy didn't want me driving by myself. So, which is fine, because I've only been to Chicago once and I was 14. So, I didn't mind the company. But, so we left for Chicago probably, I don't know, it was either like 11 or noonish, something like that. And it's about a 10-hour drive. So that was fun. Yeah, because we got in around 9, I think. So we drove all the way there. Had to deal with all these toll booths because Illinois hates everyone, apparently. No offense. If anyone's from Illinois, I don't actually mean that. Just bitterness talking, I guess. But anyway, we got there. We stayed in a hotel for the night, and my appointment was Monday at noon. So we got up the next morning. We went down there a little bit early just because traffic. We don't really know the city. So we found a parking garage, parked in there. It was just a couple blocks away from the building I needed to go to. So we go into the building, and the consulate is on the 13th floor. So we went all the way up to the 13th floor, and I was like 30 minutes early for my appointment. They weren't busy. So like, oh yeah, come here. So I like handed them my huge, thick, stupid folder full of stuff. And I was like, I don't even know what's in here. I don't even know what you need. Just here, take it. And so they like took it, and they started just like throwing out a bunch of the papers. Like, you don't need this, don't need this, don't need this. And I was like, this is fine. So then they were like, okay, it looks like you have all the right documents. So all you need to do is just the money order. And I was like, the what? Like, yeah, the money order. I was like, what's that? Like, okay, just go back down, and just like literally next door is this, not even a gas station, it's just like a convenience shop, and they're like, just tell them you need a money order for this, and get money from the ATM or whatever. And I was like, all right, fine. So my aunt and I went back down to the bottom floor, went to the next door, and this guy in there like can't really speak English. Like he did, but he didn't. Like he did, but his accent was so thick that he didn't, you know? So we're over at the ATM like trying to figure out how it works, because like it didn't, the commands I guess on it just weren't clear. Like they didn't really say like what button to push if you want to like withdraw money or what. It was just weird. Like just take my word for that. And so we're like, help us. And he's like, you just hit that button. And we're just like, what button? He's like, that one. It doesn't help us. So finally he like came over, or actually we ended up figuring it out ourselves. And my aunt's just like super angry at this point. It was actually kind of really funny. So we finally get that figured out, and this stupid money order is like $160. And I was like, why? Whatever, it's fine. I was like, I'm just ready to go home and be done with this. This is dumb. So I finally get that figured out, and we get the money from the guy, and we go back up to the 13th floor, and I hand him the money, and they're like, okay, are you gonna come back and pick this up? And I was like, what? No, I'm from Nebraska, I'm from Lincoln, I'm like 10 hours away, I don't want to come back and get this. And I'm like, well, we can mail it to you, but you have to go buy the envelope. And I was like, okay, where do I do that? They're like, just go down the street this way, there's this, it was like a AOS building, I don't know, it was like AOS or something, I don't even know. But it was this weird like black triangular building. It was really cool, but it was really weird. And they're like, just go in there, go down the steps, and there's a post office in there, and just buy an express shipping envelope with the tracking number. And I was like, fine. So my aunt's like, I'm staying right here. And I was like, that's fine. So I went back down all the 13 floors, and the poor guy at the front, he's like, leaving so soon? I'm like, yeah, I'll be back, it's okay. So I walk across, and I find this building, and it's like, it was almost like a mall, but it was like, the ground's up here, so it was like, not like underground, but just like a little bit below ground level. I don't even know how to explain it. But I was like, I have no idea where I'm going. This is fine. I don't know anywhere. So I was like, left sounds good. So I went left and ended up finding the post office, so that was cool. And I get in line there, and I'm trying to find one of these envelopes, and I pick one, and I go up to the lady, and I'm just like smiling stupidly. I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing, and I just need one for my visa. And she like grabs an envelope from her side and is like, here you go, honey. And I was like, thank you. So I bought that, and that was like a $26 envelope or something like that. Some crazy number for just a piece of cardboard with red, white, and blue stripes and stuff. So it's like, whatever. So I finally get that, and I walk back. I see the guy in the lobby. I'm like, hey, I'm back. And he's like, 13th floor, good to see you. And I was like, so I went back up the 13 flights, and I went up, and I handed them the envelope, and they're like, okay, we'll send this. It's usually about 4 weeks or something. And I was like, cool, thank you. And by this point, it's like 12:15. So that was kind of cool. So because I started early, like, it was like a 30, 45-minute meeting. It would have been faster if I had known about the money order and the envelope. So we ended up leaving Chicago around 12:30. We get to the parking garage, getting into the car, get out. Stupid parking ticket is $35. I was just like, it's fine. It's fine. Just $200 worth of, probably more than that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, about $200 worth of stuff for Spain, worth of paper, literally. So it's like, this is fine. So we left Chicago around 12:30. Like I said, about a 10-hour drive. So we got back at like, yeah, 10:30 or something, 11. And I left straight from home, hopped in my car, and went back down to camp, which is another 2.5 hours. So I got back there at like 1 or 1:30 and was up for work the next morning for staff worship at 7:30. And then I finished out the rest of the summer there. But yeah, so that in a nutshell. I know this video is like 20 minutes already, but that is a nutshell of the adventures of documentation. So, the moral of this is if you're planning on studying abroad, just know that you're probably going to have to call them to figure out how to get to your consulate website unless they update it for next year. If you're in Chicago, there is a money order of $160. You have to provide the envelope, and you don't need any special thing on your fingerprint card, and use the State Patrol to get your Apostille of Hague Convention sticker. Also, as a reward to yourself, like I said, there's the police station in the Capitol building. Literally right in the middle is Coltiva Coffee. Do yourself a favor and just go there and get a Barcelona, which is the most amazing coffee drink I've ever had in my life, and reward yourself for going through this process. Anyway, so that's the gist of what documentation and the struggle is like to get to this point. Just warning you in case you're planning on doing this. It's really not that bad. It's kind of bad, but it's not. Like, it's an adventure, and it's a lot of miscommunication and a lot of misunderstanding and a lot of driving and a lot of money, which is worth it though. That's the point. Like, it's gonna be worth it someday. It may not be today. It may not be the day you get to Spain, but it will be worth it.